Hi everyone, it's time for the chapter review test. So we will take the real test on Friday. But for now, we'll go over the problems that you will see. Remember, they are the exact same problems. They just change the names or the objects and they change the numbers, but same exact concept. So if you take good notes and watch how I do these problems, and you should be able to do the actual problems on your test without any issue. Number 1 says, Omar is making a scale model of the Statue of Liberty for a report on New York City. The Statue of Liberty is 305 feet tall, measuring from the ground to the tip of the torch. If the model is 1/100th the actual size of the Statue of Liberty, how tall is the model? So if we think about this, it is definitely going smaller. So we're going to move our decimal point to the left. And remember, if it is a whole number, which in this case it is, our decimal is always understood to be at the very end. And if I'm thinking about 1/100th, that means there's 2 places. So I need to move 2 places to the left to get an answer of 3 5/100 feet. Number 2, there's 4 problems, and it's just like the ones we did on the last test, but this time instead of saying true or false, it says yes or no. Basically, we have to solve these problems and see if the answer they have is the same answer that we get. So, let's look at this. 62 hundredths times 10 equals 62. So if we multiply a decimal by 10, we move our decimal point 1 place to the right. In this case, it would give us 6.2. So that would make this answer no, because it is not 62. Now we have 53 hundredths times 10 is 5 3/10. Well, 1 place to the right. Yep, that is 5.3, so that is a yes. 9 hundredths times 100, so that's 2 places this time. 1, 2. Answer is 9, so that is a yes. And then 1,000, so that's 1, 2, 3 places. 1, 2, 3. That would give us 600, not 60, so that would be a no. Number 3. Nicole is making 1,000 bows for people who donate to the library book sale. She needs a piece of ribbon that is 75 hundredths meters long for each bow. How many meters of ribbon does she need to make all of the bows? Well, all we have to do is multiply 75 hundredths times 1,000. So just like the problems we did in number 2, we know that we have 1, 2, 3 places. So we take our decimal. I'm going to write it here so you can see me do this. And you move it 3 places to the right because we are increasing. So that means she is going to need 750 meters of ribbon to make all of those bows. Okay, and that's it for the first page. The second page, we're going to just look at 5 and 6, and it says, Tenley is making a square frame for her painting. She uses 4 pieces of wood that are each 2 75 hundredths feet long. How much wood will Tenley need or use to make the frame? So all we have to do is multiply. So we take 2.75 times 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. And now we place our decimal. We have 2 places, so we go 1, 2. So it looks like she is going to need 11 feet of wood in order to make 4 shelves. Or frames, sorry, that's my fault. Different problem I was thinking of. All right, number 6. Which problems will have 2 decimal places in the product? So in the answer, mark all that apply. So that means we're going to have more than one answer for this, and you get a point for every one that you get correct. So do I actually have to go through and solve all of these problems to answer this question? No, you absolutely don't, because remember, you don't place your decimal until the very, very end, and you do it based off of how many decimal places are in your factors. So in this case, I go through and I just count how many decimal places are in each problem. So for this one, I've got 1, 2. So this one is definitely an option. In D, there's only 1, so that one is out. In B, I only have 1 place here, so that is out. In E, I count 1, 2, so E is an answer. And C, it's times 10 to the 0 power. That's the same as multiplying it by 1. So that means the decimal point doesn't change or anything. And it does appear I have 2. So it is going to be C as well. So for a problem like this, you'd get 3 points because there were 3 correct answers. Okay, that's it on that one. On page 285, we have 3 problems we're going to go over. Number 9, Trevor is reading a book for a book report. Last week, he read 35 pages of the book. This week, he read 2.5 times as many as what he read last week. How many pages of the book has Trevor read this week? Show your work. So all you have to do is go ahead in and multiply. Doesn't matter which number's on top or which number's on the bottom. We line them up right to left. We do not line up based off of our decimal. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. Put our 0 for our placeholder. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. So I would have 5, 7, and 8. And then I count my decimal places. In this case, I only have 1. So I put it right there. So it would be 87.5 pages. And I need to see all of that work. You guys will have work paper to do this on, so you'll only need to put your answers into quizzes and then submit work to me through Google Classroom using your camera. All right, number 10. Jonah drives his car to and from work. The total length of the trip to and from work is 19.2 miles. In August, Jonah worked 21 days. How many miles in all did Jonah drive to and from work that month? Show your work. So, I'm sure many of you already guessed it. All we do is go ahead and multiply. I typically always put the number with the most digits at the top, but you definitely don't have to. It's not a requirement. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. Placeholder. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Add them up. And now I place my decimal. I only have 1 place. So I put it 1 place in. So he drives a total of 403 2/10 miles. Okay, and number 12. Melinda, Zachary, and Heather went to the mall to shop for school supplies. Melinda spent $4.25 on her supplies. Zachary spent $2.30 more than Melinda. And Heather spent 2 times as much as Zachary. How much did Heather spend on school supplies? So they really don't care what Zachary spent. They want the answer of Heather, but we have to solve Zachary in order to get there. You don't have to draw the diagram for this if you don't want to. If I think it helps, but you don't, it's not necessary. So if I was solving this, Melinda is definitely my home base, and she spent $14.25. Next up is Zachary, and we know that he spent $2.30 more than Melinda. So his is going to be $14.25 plus, actually, you know what, one second. Let me color code this a little bit better. So here's Melinda's total, and we know that he also spent $2.30 more, so that's going to be $2.30 here. And we can go ahead and solve that. So over here onto the side, I'm gonna do 5 plus 0 is 5, 2 plus 3 is 5, 4 and 2 is 6. So Zachary spent a total of $16.55. And then last, we get down to Heather. And we know that Heather spends 2 times as much as Zachary. So I go ahead and I use Zachary's total, which was $16.55. And now I'm going to multiply that by 2, and this will give us our final answer that we need, that the story problem is actually asking us for. So $16.55 times 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 again plus 1 is 11. 12 plus 1 is 13. And 2 plus 1 is 3. So I already brought my decimal down, as you can see, but if we want to make sure, I have 1 2 places, 1 2 places. So her grand total for her little shopping spree was $33.10. On the next page, we're just going to look here at number 14. It says, at a tailor shop, it costs $6.79 to shorten a pair of pants, and 4 times as much to mend a dress. Choose the answer that correctly completes the statement. This problem gets my kids every year, so I beg of you to listen to me, and I want you to take note of this so that when you take your test, you don't mess up this problem. It says, it would cost Lisa blank to shorten 1 pair of pants and mend 1 dress. So it's asking us the price to do 2 things. A lot of people only read half of the problem and be like, oh, it's just shorten a pair of pants. That's easy. No, it isn't. It's asking us 2 different things. So you've got to be really careful with that. But we really don't know how much it costs to mend a dress. We just know it's 4 times as much as shortening a pair of pants. So we have to actually solve for that first. So we take $6.79 and it's 4 times as much, so we times it by 4. So 4 times 9 is 36, and 4 times 7 is 28, so that'd be 31 with the 3, and 4 times 6 is 24, plus 3 is 27. And I have 2 decimal places. So it actually is going to cost $27.16 to mend a dress. And it costs, so that's 1 dress and 1 pair of pants. So one pair of pants is $6.79. So we actually have to take these two numbers here and add them together to get our actual total. So $27.16. Remember, when we add and subtract, we have to have our decimals lined up. So 9 plus 16 is 15. 9. Decimal comes straight down. 6 plus 7 is 13. That's 3. So it would be a total of $33.95. Be extra careful on this one. I'm telling you, it always gets my students. Take good notes on this, and that way you have it for the test. On this page, number 16 is going to be the extra credit. So we're going to come back to that one, and we're going to look right here at number 17. It says explain, or no, sorry, not 17, number 18. On Saturday, Ahmed walks his dog 7/10 of a mile. On the same day, Letitia walks her dog 4/10 as far as Ahmed walks his dog. How far does Letitia walk her dog? All we have to do is go ahead and multiply. So this is just like the lesson we did for 4.8, which is, if you remember, really easy. All we have to do is just take 4 times 7. And 4 times 7 we know is 28. And then we count our decimal places. 1, 2. So our decimal place is going to go 2 places in. So our answer is going to be that Letitia walks her dog 28/100 of a mile. Okay, let's look over here for our last couple of problems. So for 19, it's very similar to the ones that we did on the first page. There's 4 of them. We have to prove if they are correct or not. These are true or false. On the test, I believe they are just yes and no. They just keep the same thing. So let's look at this. The product of 1.5 and 2.8 is 4.2. Now, we do have to solve these in order to check them. So 1.5 times 2.8. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8. Plus 4 is 12. Placeholder. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. So 2 decimal places here. 1, 2. So I get 4.20. Is that the same as 4.2? Absolutely. That 0 has no value whatsoever. So yes, that is correct. Okay, let's look at the next one. So I'm going to kind of box this one in as much as I can. I'm just going to say A. And next I do B. And that has 7.3 times 0.6. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 1 is 43. And I move my decimal place 2 places. So that would be 4.38, not 43.8. So that is false. Next up is C, and that is 0.09 times 0.7. We can just do 7 times 9 here, and that is 53. And then we just have to count our decimal places. So we got 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3. So our answer is 0.053. They have 6.3. That is not correct. That is definitely false. And our last one is D, and that is 0.79 times 1.5. So So 5 times 9 is 45. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 4 is 39. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3 placeholder. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 0 is 0. Add them up. And I have 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. So my answer would be 1.185, and that is exactly what they have here. So that is true. Okay. And down here, Jacqueline lives 0.3 miles from Keith. Layla lives 0.4 times as far from Keith as Jacqueline. How far does Layla live from Keith? So all we need to do is go ahead and multiply the two. So 0.3 times 0.4. Again, 4 times 3 is 12. We can write that down and count our decimal places. 1, 2, 1, 2. Our answer is 0.12 or 1200ths mile. And for number 22, it says Brianna is getting materials for a chemistry experiment. Her teacher gives her a container that has 1,500 liters of liquid in it. Brianna needs to use 4/10 of the liquid in the experiment. How much will she use? So all you do is multiply these two. So 0.15 times 0.4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. And then we can just go ahead and count our decimal places. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So, do I leave my answer as 0.060? No. You would write it in here as 0.06. There's no reason to have that 0 at the end. It has no value. Don't forget. Okay, so that's actually all of our test problems. There are about 19 on your test. If we go ahead and look at our extra credit real quick, we have Mr. Evans is paid $9.20 per hour for the first 40 hours. He is paid 1.5 times that rate for each hour after that. So if you ever hear parents talking, they talk about overtime. That is when you usually get paid time and a half. So it says, last week, Mr. Evans worked 42.25 hours. He says he earned $388.70 last week. Do you agree? Support your answer. That means we have to explain. So I think the way that I'm going to do this question is I'm going to do it through Google Classroom, and it will come up as an assignment, but it will be called a question on there, and you'll have to answer this through there to get this extra credit. So the first thing we have to do is find out how much money he makes for 40 hours. So I'm going to take $9.20 times 40. We know all of this is going to be 0 because 0 times anything is 0. Then I do my placeholder. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 9 is 36. So 2 decimal places. 1, 2. 40 hours. And I'm going to just make notes here. 40 hours, he makes $368. But now I need to figure out how much money he makes for 42.25 hours. So I'm going to have to figure out how many extra hours he worked over. Well, if you think about it, all you would have to do is take 42.25 minus 40, which a lot of you are probably already saying, I don't need to write that down. I know what it is, and that's fine. If you know that he works 2.25 hours more, that's good. So now we have to figure out how much money that is. Well, he doesn't just earn $9.20 for those extra hours. He earns 1.5 times that. So I take 9.20 times 1. Oops, sorry, I wrote that in the wrong spot. 1.5. So 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 9 is 45. Plus 1 is 46. Placeholder. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 9 is 9. Add it up. And count your decimal places. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So he actually gets paid $13.80 for any overtime. Okay? So what we do, or let's kind of review. So first we find out how much he makes in total for 40 hours. Then we find out, so if I did step 1, step 2, we figure out how many hours over he worked. Step 3, we figure out how much time and a half actually equals. And that is at $13.80. And then step 4, I know it's a big problem. We have to take $13.80 times the hours that he was over, which is 2.25. All right, so 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Placeholder. And I'm going to change my colors here so I don't get confused. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 2 times 1 is 2. And because I'm going 3 places now, I have to do 2 placeholders. And that's actually going to be the same as my second line because it's a 2 again. So I can go ahead and just write down 276 again. And we add it all up. That's 12, 19, 20, 21, 14, and 6 is 20, 22. 6, so then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So I'm going to put OT here. So overtime he makes an extra bit here. Let's see. I think I might have... Let me double check something real quick, guys. I'm rushing and cramming, which is what I would always say is not a good idea to do. I just want to make sure I am not losing you anywhere. What number is that problem? It's number 16. All right. So we have that problem right. Oh, I know. No, there's 225. Is 31.50. Yeah, we did something. I did something totally wrong here. Hold on a second. We need to come back. I apologize for that. I'm going to have to add another piece of paper so that we have the space to do this correctly. All right. So we do take... Let me zoom in here. $13.80 times $225. And if you remember, that is what we were doing. We knew we take the amount that he earns in overtime times the time he works over. But we must have made an uh-oh somewhere here. So let's try this. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 4 is 19. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. So we did that part right. All right. So now I'm going to switch to my other color. And we put a place value holder. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And 2 times 1 is 2. All right. And we add 2 place values because I'm clear over to the third number. And 2 times 0 is 0. That's where we messed up. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and 2 times 1 is 2. That's where our uh-oh was. I forgot that extra 0 there. So we add it up. 9 plus 6, 15. And let's do that. 7, 8, and 12 would be 20. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he would make an additional $31.05 with his overtime. So now, $31.05. Don't forget that. $31.05. So now what we do is add those two together. And that would give us our total. So 368, 3105. So he would make a total of $399.05. Was he correct? No, he was not correct. So you would have to support your answer and give a good explanation on that. You could just simply say, I disagree. After I did the math, he actually earns $300.99, or I'm sorry, $399.05. So it doesn't have to be very big and elaborate. Just say whether you agree or disagree and what the answer is. So lots of work to do for that problem. We'll go over it again in class 2 to get you set up for that. But again, it is extra credit, but it's definitely worth a try.